Okay. Becky.
Here.
Donna.
Here.
Wisty.
Here.
Garth.
Here.
Terry.
Here.
Victor.
Here.
Travis.
Here.
Jack.
Here.
And I'm here. Okay, so we have a full house, we have a quorum for sure. First thing on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from March 19th. I hope everybody had a chance to take a look at them. I will, if there's no discussion, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the minutes as written, say, raise your hands. Say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, all approved, no abstention, any abstentions? Any negatives? Okay, they have been approved unanimously. As we don't have any public comment here in the room, we have one visitor, and Alyssa, is there anything you would like to say in public comment before we move on?
Nope, I'm just tuning in to listen.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, so we're going to start on our new business, and that means we're going to be working on deciding what the presentations are going to be. Donna, did you have something you wanted to say?
I just wanted a clarification. I'm looking at the applications summary spreadsheet and the budget says 262 and then reserves. Can we get clarity on what reserves means? Is that what we're still waiting for people to spend that's already been earmarked?
Yep.
A note that is money that has been put into the reserve account that you didn't spend, that was collected in revenue in past years.
So it's therefore available to us if we want to spend it. This sometimes it takes a little while for us to get all that information from the city. Okay,
You want to look at that right now?
sure. Let's,
Okay.
Anna, can you use the mic?
Is this what you're talking about, Donna?
No, I'm talking about a spreadsheet that says applications.
Oh, that does have the same numbers though.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that does.
Yeah, that one.
That one
Yeah.
she's talking about.
Okay.
Yeah. So the 348, now I remember a couple of years ago, we decided to not dip into reserve and just, so we knew that we had it, because my understanding was that reserve was sort of, an assumption based on what we were going to collect in taxes for the year and also not necessarily knowing what the state match was going to be. So when I looked at this number today, which is significant, it's more than we actually have in our budget. I felt like it was important that I understand clearly what it is that we're talking about, where the funding streams came from, what is it that we know that we have, so we could have a discussion about how we want to handle it.
do you want to speak? Want to speak to?
Sure. So this is a picture of the accounts, based on, what we have on the city side and what has been allocated to projects. If you see something, in the project line, it's what we're contracted to pay for that project. It's not about what they've spent yet or not. We just assume that that's set aside for the project. So for your fiscal year 26 budget, what you set, is this going to show up if I do this? No. So what you set was a budget of $276,000 for fiscal year 26 revenue to the CPA, with an administrative budget of 13,800, which is where those numbers came from. That was obviously underestimating what we're actually collecting, but we're still collecting fiscal year 26 revenue. People are still paying their taxes. We did get this match from the state, so that's locked in, and it's going to be higher than 240,000, but we don't know exactly what it is. So you can't spend any more than you budgeted for of the fiscal year 26 revenue that is coming in. But you can spend whatever you want of what's in reserve. And in fact, you can also appropriate future revenue from fiscal year 27 if you want to. I don't know how to do that, but it is something that you're allowed to do. So there are options.
If I can just say, one of the things that we had that year that was off kilter was in order to try to make this more regular so we could figure out what we actually had available as opposed to what was kind of coming, but we weren't sure about it. And so we tried to get it to be more regular than it is. And there's still a little wonkiness, but it's better than it was.
Right, and I recall that as being, this is the year that we're going to, we're not going to spend any sort of projections. We're just going to spend what we know that we have. And my thought was that the point was to sort of let things fill back up and be in the accounts. I'm also just noticing that the reserves 348, 316, 83. So it's all admin and projects, which, I mean, that looks to me like it's pretty much earmarked.
Nope. So that
You add up
348,
that total thing, so there's
Okay,
the top is the income, and then the admin and the projects are all the outflows. And so what you have left is the 348.
okay.
so yeah.
And then the 240 plus the 45, that's what we know that we've gotten from the state, and we know that we budgeted because we have it.
Right, that's the minimum of fiscal year 26, and it will certainly be higher than that.
Okay. So looking just at, because I like to spend what we know that we have.
Yeah.
It just feels like the way that's just my personality. But this is looking like 285 versus 262.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I mean, if you go back to that sheet, right? Because it's 240 plus 45. So
Yep.
that's 285 and $31. Okay.
Yes,
Thank
but remember, you can't spend that full amount of the state match, right? Because that's revenue that you didn't budget for. So we can spend it next year, but the most that we can spend is this 262,200 of the fiscal year 26 revenue, because it hasn't closed yet and we're still collecting it. Does that make sense?
Okay.
But we could spend 100,000 from reserves if we wanted to as a committee.
Yes.
But we just can't spend more than the 262,200 because we can't spend 100% of that 45,000.
Right.
So we could, as a committee, decide we wanted to do an additional 100,000 this year if we chose.
Right.
Yep. So think of it as two different buckets. The fiscal year 26, which is kind of speculative and it's based just on the budget you set and gave to city council. And then whatever is actually in the account, which is actually in the account and we can spend.
Of course, learning that tonight when we're making decisions rather than thinking about it beforehand, this extra potential money, it's just a little untimely.
late.
Yeah, a little late.
Not
For the-
helpful.
I mean, the information was there.
Well, I guess that
No one
the
was
way
hiding it from us.
the way that I'm thinking about it is, we're going to go through these projects and we're going to decide what to allocate for each one. And it may be that there's a little bit of, if we just had that much more, then we could do this, that maybe that's when we consider chipping away at some of that potentially.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, what I just said to
Yes,
everybody? Does
that
that
does
make
make
sense? Okay.
I think the issue is we're probably, we have the possibility of spending a little bit more of that and going into reserves, but we probably don't want to spend all of the 348 because that puts us in a hole for next year.
Yeah, no.
Okay,
Anything else?
anything else before we start moving on this and Anna does her presentation? Okay. Anna, the floor is yours.
Oh, so we're gonna talk about, just stop the share real quick. We're talking and doing this at the same time. We're gonna talk about the public input that you received. I'm gonna go through a couple of slides and then I'm actually gonna let Travis talk about some of the analysis he did, if that's okay, Travis, of
Yeah.
the qualitative feedback. So let's just make sure this is.
It's very.
Okay. Okay, so the public survey was active from March 2nd through March 21st. There were 51 respondents. That was significantly less than what you got last year, which I believe was in the 120-ish range. 49 of them are Greenfield respondents. 2 of them said they lived elsewhere. I thought what was interesting just about where people had heard about the survey compared to last year is that folks did say they heard, this was an open-ended question, and folks did say they had heard about it from the farmers market tabling. And social media was a smaller percentage of the people who responded than there was last year. So more people this year said they had heard about it from the newspaper, which I thought was interesting. So this is what the survey looked like. There was a form like this for each project. And thank you, Donna, for making this on Google Forms. And this is what the responses looked like. So I have them ordered top to bottom of the most popular projects. People answered based on how valuable it was to Greenfield as a whole, to them as an individual, and in their opinion, was it a good use of CPA funding? And then I just averaged the responses from the 3 categories for each one. I'll let it sit and percolate for a minute, but let me know if people have questions.
Does it go down a little further or is it just?
Nope, that's it.
That's it. Oh, I
Um,
see. Never mind.
there was obviously feedback about the church project, but I left it off for tonight. We can definitely return to what that looked like, but the committee scoring, well, you guys knew what you were looking at. So I took an average for each project of scores out of 48. We'll show you in a minute how this looks compared to what the public survey responded, because it's actually quite different. But I did plot it out just to show you the spread, because some of these were really wide, in particular the Security Deposit and Rental Assistance Fund, which ranged from, I believe, 12 to 46 in terms of scores. And this is ordered where it shows the average, the median, and then the spread. Let me know if I'm moving too fast. Travis.
All right. So similar to previous years, I took all of the written comments that people left in the open-ended question and then categorized them all into one of these categories. Luckily, my categories seem to be pretty comprehensive year to year. I seem to be able to fit everything in to one of those categories. So these are plotted from the project with the most positive comments on the left to the least positive on the right. And just a few things to point out there, the bright pink, those were people who said that project should be funded with something that's not CPA, either private funding or the applicant should self-fund. the black on the very tops of the bars, those are people who just said that that project was not something Greenfield needed at all. Like, not only should we not fund it, but it's something that shouldn't even happen. That's what that color was. And then, the biggest is just support. That was just generally people saying, oh, I really like this project, please support it, or something like that. I just put it all into support. And then there were a couple, in the past, there were a lot more people who said, like, this project is my highest priority. But on this one, there were only a few people who said that. One was the rental assistance fund all the way on the left. That one had 3 people say it was the highest priority. The co-op project had 1 person, and then the Deerfield Street project had 1 person who said it was their highest priority. So yeah, if anyone has any questions about that, we'll see more analysis after this, but we can always come back. Oh, the other thing is there's like right above the pink on some of them, there's a red, kind of a, not the dark red, but the lighter red. That's people who said that it was too expensive. So the one with the most of that is the Deerfield Street, City Clerk, Bank Row. Those projects all got comments like that. But again, this is just a subset of people. You can see the total number of comments on the y-axis there. The one that had the most comments was 32. So this is just a subset of people who answered the survey. Some people didn't leave comments at all. So we can go to the next slide. And then I mentioned those were ordered from most positive to the project with the least positive. Out of those categories, this is how I group them into positive, mixed, and negative. So those are all the categories that were in that last graph. And then if we go to the next one, here's what it looks like when you just look at percentages, how many of those fell into that positive category, how many are mixed, and then how many are in that negative category. And again, these are all in the same order as the plot that we just saw. And it does differ from the overall scoring order. Because again, this is just a subset of people who responded to the survey. But it does kind of point out, there's like the rental assistance fund all the way on the left. There were, mostly just positive comments, and then you go all the way to the right, and there were a lot of like mixed comments for the city clerk, like unsure if it's needed or it's expensive, or so it really does show a difference in that way. And then the next slide, this is a comparison. This is not the written comments. This goes back to the data that Anna was using for how people just ranked the projects in the survey results. So the survey rank is the left, and I ordered this from, just in that order. And then what we ranked the projects is next to that. So this is where you can see there are a few projects that are quite different from one side to the other. We ranked Rural Development Inc. #1, and the public ranked it number 7 out of 10, for example. And again, we'll probably come back to this and look at this. I feel like when we voted in the past, we've had this up on the screen to look at because it has the amounts and the ranks. But if we go to the next slide.
Also the responses in this, like the scoring rubric is vastly different for this.
Yes, yeah.
Right? So if we had filled out the community one, we might have, right? And
Yeah.
maybe next year we do like we all do the survey in like a separate little bin just to see, because no, especially this year looking through it, like I was like, scores high, don't particularly like the project kind of.
Also be nice to get a statistically significant number of respondents.
And that's kind of up to the community.
Yeah, but I mean,
And sometimes the community organizations that are applying get their constituency to vote.
Mhm.
For instance, we saw that with to a great extent with the fairgrounds.
Oh,
And
yeah.
And pickleball was another. So it's really hard to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some like the Hillside Park.
Yep.
pretty much people-
yeah, exactly.
So I didn't do this last year or in the past, but I sort of wanted to break this down a little bit more. So this is that same table that we just looked at, the rank order, but this is only just showing the categories. So we can see where we ranked housing a lot higher
Mhm.
and the public ranked, open space and recreation a lot higher.
And to Garth's point, that really the questions were different, but I think
Yes.
at the heart of them, the main big difference for what the public was asked was, is this important to me personally? Which we did not ask you guys.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. So then the interesting thing is if we look at these by yeah, you can go to the next one. If we look at these by category, like only in each funding category, open space and recreation, we ranked those in the same order that the public did. They might have been somewhere else in the list, but we ranked open space projects in a similar order. And then if you go to the next one, we ranked historic projects in the same order. And then if you go to the next one, housing is where it was different. So
Mhm.
the public ranked the security deposit one highest, and we had that one as the lowest. So that's a little different in that category. So anyway, I just thought it was interesting because we do have specific funds for each category. So, it's interesting to know that in open space and recreation and historic, we ranked those projects within that category the same as the public, but different on housing. So that's the end of the slides.
Are there any slides that people would like to have up specifically? All right, Becky is saying she wants this one up. Is this one that other people feel should be the one? We can move them around if we need them in the discussion, but I just want to know if there's something you kind of like to look at as as we're doing the deliberations in general.
I think the one that has us as a committee ranking is important because I feel like the survey rank really helps us with the public feedback section of our rubric.
Mhm.
And so I think looking at that other one is important too. And I think that's the one you had done, Anna. One more. Oh, and one more before that, I think it is. The one right before, one more. That one, yeah.
I just want to point out, and this is something that's been a thing for me for, since I've been on this committee, is that there are some things that we feel are important and they can score very high, and they don't really have any relation to the quality of the product. So you send us 5 letters of support, somebody else sends us 1, you're going to get a higher score, I still support the underserved areas grant because I feel that that's an important piece for CPC. We also like to see matched funding, but again, if you've got a $10 million project and you're only asking us for $100,000, you're going to score really high on that question. Whereas if you have a $30,000 project and you only have $2,000 to put in, there goes your score on that one. And I would encourage committee members to keep that in mind as we look at these projects, because I think that we need to be clear on, a big part of to me is value and also, understanding that some of these high scores might be high because of situations such as those.
I think that the deliberation part of this is very important. And so it's data. It's not necessarily what we deliberate. And I think it's important for us to keep that in mind, and we'll make a decision. We'll make a decision. Some will match exactly, some will not. And I think that that's the process that we're doing here tonight. Is there,
That was actually not the slide I was looking at. I thought this was the one where we have our ratings. Anna, is there another one that shows what the committee members? Okay, this is that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then the further one has, I mean, it doesn't have the actual scores.
But it has both, yeah. The other one is fine.
But it has,
You
it
can go
has
back
the
and
ranking.
look at
let's,
Yeah, it's
go
helpful to
back
have
where we
the
were.
actual money.
that one's
yeah,
fine.
that one, that's
Question.
fine,
Right.
I think. Okay, is this, so this one is the one we want to use right now? Okay. Is there anything more that you want to present, Anna, or, okay? Any questions?
Susan, before we get to deliberations, can I just bring up the conversation I had with the attorney at the State Ethics Commission?
Absolutely.
Okay. Just wanted to just air it out there that I contacted the State Ethics Commission. They have a phone line where you can ask about conflicts of interest or potential issues with conflicts of interest. And the attorney with the State Ethics Commission essentially said the same thing that I originally assumed, or that we have read on the Community Preservation Coalition's website, which is that if a member of the body, of this body, is also on another body, for example, me on the Conservation Commission and on this committee, even if the Conservation Commission has a project before the CPC, that does not create a conflict of interest, because in both cases, I am representing the public interest. So there's no conflict between public interest and public interest with both of those hats that I'm wearing. I also mentioned that I did fill out the form indicating the appearance of conflict of interest at the beginning of the year due to the Conservation Commission projects. And they said that that is also not necessary because there's no conflict of interest. So with that in mind, I just wanted to throw it out there that I do plan on deliberating and voting on all projects, including Conservation Commission projects. And I think that's how this committee is supposed to work. And I would encourage other people to do the same, but that's up to them. So
Would anyone else like to speak to this question?
Yes. And this has to do with the co-op vote. And I also called a state attorney in the same office and explained my own personal situation where I'm a member of the co-op. My partner and I have given a loan for the new building. So I laid out all the ways I'm attached to the co-op. And ultimately what the attorney said was there's no conflict of interest because what we're voting on here is the facade of that building. And that facade and my investments in the co-op have to do with buying food and shopping there. The facade is not the same as buying food and shopping there. So there's no conflict of interest. So I'm going ahead and voting on the co-op and yeah.
Thanks, Whiskey. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this question?
Yeah, I'll just mention that because I represent the Greenfield Housing Authority and the GHAI, I will not be deliberating on those two projects.
And I would like to say also that although I am legally able to, according to the Ethics Commission, I am legally able to vote on both the GHAI and the GHA applications. I am choosing to recuse myself mainly because there has been some public question about appearance of conflict, and I want to avoid any of that. Go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, I just want to mention, I'm only recusing myself from one thing, and it's because of a personal relation with one of the people applying. And I don't even know whether or not I need to, but why muddy the waters?
Fine,
So-
okay. Anything else on this issue so that we've all got those things out in the open? Go ahead, Donna.
So since everyone's speaking about their committees or whatever, I guess I'll mention that I am on the Recreation Commission. I do plan to vote. I've never seen a conflict of interest because my brother's not doing the projects. I am not getting any sort of benefit. I am not paid by the Recreation Department. I'm representing the citizens of Greenfield here.
Thank you. Anything else?
Less important, but for folks who are interested in the data, I just want to note that Jack also did not fill out response for the two GHA projects, and Terry did not fill out a response for Spike Segundo.
Okay. I think we have exhausted that. Is that okay with everybody? Okay, then let's move on to conditions.
So I'm happy to get started with this, but I will say that this was the part last year where you guys had a conversation about if you were going to fund these projects, what conditions would you place in the contracts? I am very open to the idea that this isn't the best time to do that because that's could be extra work on a project you decide not to fund. I wrote up a draft. We can look at it or we could put a pin in it. I think it's pretty general. They're expected to comply with the CPA regulations, and for those that require it, they have to accept a preservation restriction. So it's up to you, Susan.
Okay, is there anything more that anyone is concerned about that? We have a template pretty much that we've been using and that has worked okay. Is there anyone who would like to add to that or has a concern about any of these projects in relation to that question?
Or if you just want to see the draft.
Yeah, or if you want to see the draft.
I think it's fine to continue to use the template we've used certainly makes sense to have the one we've used in the past. And if when we're deliberating a particular project, we want to put a special condition, right? We can toss that in.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would want you guys to decide tonight is that if you are funding one of the historic projects that requires a preservation restriction, I'd like for you to have a discussion of how long to make it. And I think that will be contingent on how much money you put into the project based on what you did last year.
In the past, we've had a range between, I think the lowest we ever did was 10 years and the highest we ever did was 30 years on historic preservation restrictions.
Good.
Okay, then let's get on with this. Let's start with the city clerk and the preservation of historic city documents.
Susan, is there any way we could start with the ones that folks agreed on and
That
the
would-
ones that are less? So like
Sure.
the paintings, the public and the committee, both place them at position 10.
Okay,
And so I'm just curious if we could cross off some of the ones that we all agreed on or approve the ones that we all agreed on versus thinking it might be a little easier.
does that work for folks?
Yeah,
All right,
sure.
then let's go back to our,
Do you want to look at the?
yeah, let's look at that slide.
So if we're going to start with the paintings, I would only say that that was an example of one of the projects that I really like, but it lost points for me because of like the letters of support and because of the matching funds. You know, I was a teacher for many, many years and I would make these great rubrics and I'd have a C paper in my hand and I knew it was a C paper. But they ticked so many boxes that it was like a B. And so it just,
I'd like
Donna,
to add to that.
I think we're going to go, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'd like to add to that. That's another project I also think is worthy. It's ideal, it's historic, it's local, it has no money. And the fact that I think we need to review our whole guiding thing, because I think people that have a lot of money don't need ours. People that need our money are the people who don't have money. So I think we need to look at how we've got
Okay.
that all set. So I agree with Donna on that one. I think that's a local entity. It's locally owned. It represents local history. To me, that's one of the highest things I would have marked on my list. But the grading system didn't give it that. And
Right.
that's,
Susan, I'm fine with us starting
Oh,
at the
you're
top.
starting at
I
the
just,
bottom or
I
working up the
assumed
top?
that
Okay.
it was
Okay.
ranked that way. Maybe it would be easier to start that way.
Does how do folks want to do this? I'm open to starting with things that we all kind of agree on and at least saying, we agree on these are going to get some money and then come back to them and say how much money we want, or, so we could do that. And then we can talk about the ones that we've got are a little more controversial, or we can start with the ones that, we have this mixed problem with, because I also have that same problem.
Why don't we start at the top of this list?
Yeah,
and
just-
go down and sort of
Yeah.
do that, should we give them anything, vote.
Okay,
And then we can go back to talking about each one.
Right,
okay.
if we're not going to give them anything, we don't need to talk about them.
That's right.
Right.
Okay,
Fair.
all right. I'm going to then start with the co-op. And I'm just going to ask, what is the sense of the group as to whether we want to give them any funding at all? And put it in that category, and then we'll move on down the list and see where we are. Okay, so let's start with the facade on the Wilson's building. Straw vote of hands.
Hands are yes.
I
Or
was
give them money?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Somebody make a motion to say, yes, we'd like to give them money, and then we have the discussion,
Yes,
if that's.
Yeah.
the
I
best way.
actually like the straw vote where we say
Yeah, right now. we're
some
just
money,
figuring
no
out-
money.
right.
Some money or no money. What
Okay.
if we
Yeah,
start
we can
there?
Let's narrow
start
the
there
list
and
here.
then come back.
See if we narrow it
Okay,
down.
so a straw vote on the Wilson's facade. All those in favor of some funding for that project, raise your hands. Okay, all right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 8. So that's an agreement that we're going to come back to it and we're going to talk about some money for it. Okay. The Conservation Commission, Miller's Meadow.
Are you not voting on?
I
that?
did, I voted. It's 8.
Aren't we 9?
Yes.
I didn't
People
vote.
voted.
And-
Didn't vote.
And Garth didn't vote.
I'm sorry.
We just have to know if we have.
Susan, can I ask, can we do fully fund some money and no? Okay.
We'll come back. We'll come back.
Perfect.
Come back.
At
Let's
this
just,
point,
let's
we don't
just,
need to.
so that we know,
Yeah.
if there's something we're ruling out, then we'll rule it out and we'll get past that. Okay, Miller's Meadow. How many folks would agree that they're interested in giving some funding for Miller's Meadow? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, for another 8. Yep, okay. The security deposit and rental assistance for the GHA. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
If we all raise our hands for all of them,
7.
then we get nowhere.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
The conservation fund. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are working just exactly the way they are on the list. Okay, the city historic documents. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Beacon Field. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The Rural Development, Inc., the Main Street housing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, Spike Segundo, Bank Row. 1, 2, 3.
Did you recuse yourself from this vote, just so I know what the?
No,
nominator-
this is Strava.
Sorry,
Okay,
Spike was
that's
second.
okay. The Deerfield additional units with the GHAI, all those in favor of funding that. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And the paintings at Museum of our Industrial Heritage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
May I ask what happened to the church? backed out.
they backed out there. Anna gave them a copy of what the historical preservation restrictions would be, and they decided that they would prefer not to be bound by those restrictions. And they emailed us and said they were pulling out. Okay, so based on that, we have,
So the Spike Segundo and GHAI did not have a majority.
okay. Let me ask, is this do we want to have discussion of either of those projects, or do we want to assume that we're going to not fund them?
Which two is it again?
The GHAI, Deer Street additional units, and Spike Segundo, the Bank Row project.
Again, I don't like to speak to that one because again, to me, that's historic preservation in the downtown. I think
Mhm.
it's something that our money is meant for.
Okay.
There was some discussion I heard about it being, I think it was Al Norman or someone said something about he felt that only one person benefited from it or some such as that. But I don't see that as being an issue. I think if it's going to make our downtown look better and put things back the way they are, then to me, that's a worthy use of preservation money. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay. Anyone else have a comment that they want to make in regard to either of those two projects?
I feel similar about that, the Bank Row one.
Yeah.
I think that the new housing projects are essential. And I also think that taking care of that Bank Row one and having it look really nice, when I think about the other historic preservation and when, when we've taken care of some of the trim on the buildings and done different things like that, thinking it was important, I kind of put this in the same kind of category that keeping that looking really nice is valuable.
Okay. Anyone else want to speak to either one of those two? Donna?
Well, it sounds like neither one of those projects, the Deerfield Street and the Spike Segundo, received a majority of people here on our straw poll. So my suggestion would be that we put them at the end of the line and potentially talk about them after we deliberate about the ones that we seem to be more in agreement on.
Okay, that sounds fine. So we will, all right, so let's start with the high numbers and see how we do here, okay? All right, let's start with the co-op and the Wilson's facade. Would anyone like to respond to this issue, just generally? And maybe we can also talk about funding for that.
Well, this is one that I had a little mixed feelings on because I don't really like giving money to people that have plenty of money in their pockets. But it's a locally owned entity, is it not?
Yes, it
Greenfield
is.
Co-op,
Yes,
supported by the community.
yes.
Or
And that's
people are
the
member owners.
that's the reason I thought it was worthwhile, because once again, I see this fund, this money that we're talking about, as a voluntary gift from the citizens. So the majority of the money should be spent for the citizens, with the citizens in mind. And since that's a locally owned entity as opposed to RDI, which is a monster of an issue, I voted for that. I moved my numbers where that was something I support, because again, it's locally owned, it's downtown, it makes some sense. I don't think they need the money. They asked, we have it. I don't know that I give them a whole 120,000, but I think they're worth something.
Other comments?
Yeah, I think that they've taken some hits with the amount of time that this has taken. We did agree to fund them in our first year, and then they weren't able to use that funding. I'm not in favor of fully funding them. I was thinking like maybe 80,000, just throw a number out. So.
Other? Let's see.
I support what Donna's saying, and that co-op serves people throughout the community, and what it will do for Main Street will be pretty incredible, positively. So it is my opinion. And I too, given the other given the other projects, I'm not interested in the 120,000, but 75, 80,000, I would be very interested in.
Okay.
I could
Other
support
comments?
80,000.
I've found this one a little wacky. In fact, many of the ones that the only history we care about is 1870 to 1965 or so. And that everything has to be, ye old fashioned brick. Didn't feel super compelling to me. I realized that the co-op, and I've, donated or done loaned, I'm a co-op member, shop there all the time. The facade is actually for the housing portion up above.
No,
But they're slipping it into the historic thing.
it's actually for also the downstairs, the first floor also.
They were just saying they want to take it off because they
Yeah.
want to be able to put windows there.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. It in the scope of their project, it didn't feel like a great use of the relatively limited
Mhm.
CPA funds. Right, it's a gazillion-dollar
Okay.
project, and
I
not a
was-
fan.
I was wondering if, so I kept looking at what they said they'd be doing with a partial funding gap, and they really just talked about the tax credit money that they're waiting for. And so my recommendation was going to be 60,000. I don't know if the folks who've already said 75, 80 are comfortable. I was just thinking we'd give them half.
Okay, other comments before I make mine? I too, one of the things I know about large projects like this is that there's often a need for other funders to see that there is a local commitment that is above and beyond the whatever investment process they have, and that that there is a city commitment, and that this also applies to the RDI project. And so actually, I was thinking of 50,000, but that we would give a statement that that we have support, but that it not be the whole thing. So that's my view of it. We have any other comments before we move forward to see if we can come up with a number, and then we can change the number afterward. We're not bound by this number at this point. But I think what I will do then is, considering we had a general support here for this project, and there seems to be a range, I will have people raise hands in relation to the amount of money, and then we'll hold that and come back. Does that make sense?
Do we have a like a spreadsheet we can fill in as we're going?
I
Yes.
asked Anna to make
I
one.
just can't show you both things
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
same time. But this is what we're working with. So what I want to do is put in our recommendation as we go. It'll add up down here. God, this is tricky.
Okay, and then we'll make sure that it all fits in with the rubric that we have to follow anyway. Okay,
And I'm just tracking a percentage of.
okay. So co-op, we started off with 80,000. How many folks would like to fund this at 80,000? How many would like to fund it at 70,000 or 75? 75. 1, 2. How many would like to fund it at 60? 1, 2, 3, 4. How many would like to fund it at 50? 1, 2. Okay, so we have.
Sorry, I was.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
It's a weird auction.
All right, so.
Or you should
let's-
do like at least
So-
at least 50,
Yeah.
at least 60. Like,
Yeah, so we're looking more at the 60 level, I think. Does that make
That
sense?
seems fair.
Okay, so why don't we put in 60 for the time being, and we can change it later if we choose,
So
either up
I'm
or down.
Gonna leave it highlighted, and when you guys vote on something, I'll remove the highlight, and that's how we know it's
Great.
locked in.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, so the next one in your list, right there, is Miller's Meadow. Okay, so, Miller's, do you want to go back to the other list, or what do you want to do?
We can-
It was 20, I think, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
20.
20,000.
Yeah.
It's 20,
Susan, one thing I was just going to point out, based on the slides that I made, on the last one, the co-op, was number one out
Mhm.
of the historic for both the survey and the committee.
right,
And similarly, Miller's Meadow was number one in the survey and number one by the committee within the open space. If you
Okay.
go 2 slides after that is what I'm talking about. It was number one in the survey rank
Okay.
and the committee rank.
Mhm.
Wish we had these.
Okay. And the amount requested was 20,000. Okay, so where are folks on this one?
I think for the amount of money that they're asking and the amount of labor that it will take, it's a very reasonable cost for a full fund,
Okay.
personally.
Others?
I'm in favor of full funding on that one.
Okay,
I as well, I think it's been obviously a long-term project. I think it was required when we initially got the FEMA funds or something like that, but the city has not had the funds to do it. There's been a tremendous amount of volunteer labor that's gone into it so far. And I'd be in favor of fully funding that one and
Okay.
try to get it over the finish line.
Anyone else?
The work to be done, is it being done by the city or is it being contracted out?
There's a part of it that's being contracted out because there are certain elimination of certain invasives that they're going to contract out. The rest of it is going to be volunteer.
Volunteer, great, okay, that's fine.
Can I just say one thing? So when we were talking with Athena and asking about fully funding or not, she pointed out that the invasive plant management person has money in there for 2027 and 2028, and that equates to $3,000. So I'm just suggesting we think about 17,000 instead of the full 20,
Okay.
because it's 2 years out.
Okay. Other comments?
I was gonna recommend fully funding. So I did my own little spreadsheet before we came, just to what I would do. And I was thinking fully funding this one because the open space pot that we have has 27,600 in it. And since this project was ranked highest in open space by the public and by us, and I know last year we were trying to fully fund things as much as possible before splitting things up. So I was thinking that we could do the 20,000 out of the open space fund, since we only have 2 other open space projects on here anyway, and our committee ranked them pretty low.
Okay, are there any other comments? Seeing none, I'm going to go for a vote on this one. We have two amounts. One is what, 1750, was it?
17,000.
17,000. So all those in favor of providing 17,000? 1, 2, 3. Okay. All those in favor of the 20,000? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm a 6. So there's 6 votes for that. So we will put in the 20,000 for, at least right now, for the Miller's Meadow.
This is not your final vote.
No, we're not doing a final vote yet. We'll come back. Everything then will have to be a second and all the rest of it. This is still trying to mess around with the numbers and see how things work. Okay. The next one on your list, Anna?
That's the security deposit.
Okay, the security deposit and rental assistance. I will not be voting on this, but I will. I don't think at this point I need to accuse myself. So do people have ideas or want to look at that in a different way?
I think this is another one that it's worth doing the full. I believe we did full, and they only asked for 15 last year. At that time, and also from some of the comments this year, there's a lot of public support for that as well. So regardless of the how the numbers fall out, right? Obviously, because they're asking for the entire fund, so you're losing points on the. Why aren't you? Why isn't GHA funding at 50%? Because this is a special fund. So I'd be in favor of the 30,000 on that.
Becky?
I am also in favor of the 30,000, but I don't know if this is a conditional issue, but last year we gave 15 and even that money didn't get used up in a year. So I would like to have some level of really making sure that this money is getting pushed through to the people that need it. And I don't know how to ask for that exactly, because I don't know what kind of requests are coming in, but I think only one person ended up being able to use the part of the 15 last year. So I just want to be sure it's not money that's just sitting there when there's real need. And I know that may sound like I'm not accusing anyone of not doing something, but I don't like to see the money we've appropriated to be spent sitting in bank accounts not being used.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same as Becky here, but I mean, last year we wanted to fund 30,000, but the ask was 15. Now this year, the ask is 30, but we know that there's still money from last year. So I still want to fund this, but I don't want to fully fund it. I'm looking at 15 to 20 in my mind. And then I think that this is something that probably will be a perennial ask. And this will, the money from last year, the money with this year, and then next year we can see how it's going.
Any other
Does the
comments? Go
committee
ahead, Victor.
disperse money itself? Do we disperse money?
So for this fund, it's entirely reimbursement. So the city's
So it's a
holding the
so it's
cash.
so we don't actually, do we actually give them money, or do we say we will give you up to $15,000, show us the receipt?
Correct.
Okay, so it's sitting in our funds, not their funds?
It is, and it's earning interest
So
revenue.
it's in
for
our
CPA.
reserves,
Mhm.
the money from last year?
It's not in that 300,000. It's blocked off as committed to a project, but the actual money is sitting in the city's bank account until we reimburse the GHA for spending it.
Right, but it's like
So-
my rent check that I sent in that hasn't cleared yet. It's still money I've spent. It's gone, even if it's still in my account, it's still gone.
It's encumbered.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Are you asking if we can claw back
No,
what was previously awarded?
Well, I'm saying if it has to show the receipts, why don't we wait until they've used what they've already got before we put more in an account that's just earning interest, and look at maybe funding something else here more? Because if they haven't spent the money, why are we putting more in?
Can I ask a clarification from Jack on this one?
Sure.
Even though you've recused yourself from participating as the applicant, from what I recall, the money wasn't fully spent because there wasn't a lot of money to begin with, so there wasn't a huge push to let a lot of people know about it. And the plan was this year, with this additional funding, there'd be a much bigger push to get more people aware of the fund, since there would actually be enough funding there to support a lot of people applying for it. Is that approximately what you said before?
Yeah, so that's what I said during the meeting, that you guys had the ability to ask me questions. The other thing that I just want to make sure everyone understands is the timing of the vote and the actual release of funds for this new round of money. So we still have probably 5 more months, Anna, until this new money comes available. And the other thing we're doing to protect the taxpayers' funds is making sure that those that apply, if they're eligible for raft money, we ask them to go apply for that first before they come back to us. And so the other clarification piece, you're right, Travis, we have it on our website and every person who walks in, we tell them about it, but we haven't started flyering at communities and stuff because we're waiting to see what this year's money is so that we can stretch it out if we need to.
Any further questions for Jack on this? Any other comments that people want to make?
I was just going to comment that this was another project that I think should be fully funded for the 30,000. Just because it's so, I feel like it has such a direct impact on getting people into housing. And, you know, it doesn't require waiting for a building to be built 2 years from now or 3 years from now or whatever. And then also just pointing out that in our housing fund, we have $82,800 to be spent. And this project was the highest ranked project in housing by the public. And yeah, I just think it's a good project. And we wanted to give more last year. We wanted to give them more. So I think, yeah, I was in favor of fully funding this one.
Okay, is there any other comment before we do a straw vote? Okay, based on that, we have a suggestion of 15 to 20,000. All those in favor of 15 to 20,000? One. Okay, all those in favor of fully funding at 30,000? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so put in 30,000 for that one right now. Okay, and our next one on the list is?
That is the conservation fund.
Okay, Conservation Fund is the next one on the list. So the Conservation Fund is requesting $50,000. Do folks have thoughts on that at this point?
I'll just reiterate what I said early on. I don't like putting money into something when there's no project identified. They're asking us to give them a pot of money so that if they decide to do something, they have a pot of money to do something. I think $50,000 is certainly a lot of money to ask with no goal in mind. And I don't like funding city government anyway. City government should manage its budget. And now they're asking for us, from the taxpayers who did a voluntary tax, to fund the city budget. I have a real issue with that. But again, I don't like giving money when there's no goal, nothing identified.
Okay. Anyone else?
I-
Christie?
Yeah, I'm very much in favor of this. And it's partly because my own personal involvement. I've paid my own money out of my pocket. It costs thousands of dollars to be able to do a project that, you know, maybe the Conservation Commission could have helped. And these projects, you have to get so many layers of approval from the state, from the here, from the there. And finally, when somebody says, okay, you finally got permission from here and here, you need to jump on it right then. So I'm just in favor of, and I trust that Conservation Commission, they look at things so hard and in such depth that I just support this.
Okay, do you support, do you have a level? Is it at the 50,000 or is it some other level?
Gosh, you know,
You
I-
can come back to you.
okay. I would say I would feel comfortable anywhere between 30 and 50.
Okay.
Can I, so
Yeah.
I feel like this is specifically in the CPA regulations. And so for me, I feel like just like last year, it was the first time the committee funded the security deposit one. This is one of those ones that Donna's comment about that other project, I'm not allowed to talk about, it coming back year after year. I would recommend, for me, we do at least 20,000 to this so that we can give the Conservation Commission time to see what they're able to do. The only thing I'm thinking about this one is a special we should give the authority to turn payment over within like 7 days or something like that as a committee so that we don't hold them up on the project. So I think that's going to be a little bit of a thing we need to debate a little bit more, because I don't just like, we're talking about not just giving people money and it's sitting in their account. I like the idea that it sits in our account and it grows interest. But I think we want to make sure we can give them money in a timely fashion.
Other, go,
Can you flip to the other, the work you did on where that stands with the other community versus the survey? Okay.
Similar.
Yeah, that, I was wondering about that one, yeah,
Mhm.
thanks. And then how much money do we devote to open space altogether?
Open space and recreation is going to be $27,600 for the whole category.
and then the rest of it would come from the general fund that we
Yeah.
have. Other comments, go ahead, Terry.
Yeah, I mean, from what I can tell, the whole point of this legislation is to fill gaps in funding.
Mm.
And so if there is a gap and it needs fund, it needs funds, then the whole point. And so I see if I've looked through a bunch of data from MassGIS. They have a bunch of the data available from the CPA, and conservation departments asking for funding is actually fairly common. And while their data is not complete, it still adds up to something around like $54 million in funding that conservation departments have been given through this legislation. And while that sounds like a huge number, I could go back and find that it actually only represented 13% of the total funds taken in by those communities. So it's kind of about what we're already allocating anyway. So I think if, they do need funding, then it is, a valid ask. I'm not so sure $50,000 is the right buy-in though.
What would you think is,
I would think, I like the sound of $20,000. Let's float $20,000 for a year and see what happens with it. See how it goes, see how it works for them. See if it's not enough, see if at the end of the year, they still got 10,000 in the bank.
okay, Donna?
I agree, but my understanding is that this money would go to them to stay in their account so that they could have quick turnaround with it. We did get a follow-up from Travis a few weeks ago that the account actually has like $5,000 to $6,000 in it.
And actually, that's higher now because someone donated money for the Miller's Meadow project for a specific part of the project that went into the conservation fund and will be paid out of the conservation fund specifically for that project. So it's actually a little higher than that right now.
Okay, that's good. And I'm also not in favor of $50,000. I think that this is the first year, but I like the idea, in the 20 range, 20 plus. And it gives them a start on really like making this a priority and thinking about it and knowing we have this little pot of money. How do we make it grow? How do we use it best? And I think that can result in things happening that are positive.
Other comments?
Like in general, I see why a town would want to have that fund and the Concom would want to have that fund. And I'd be in favor of funding it to some, I was thinking in the 10 to 20 range. Again, it feels like this is right, kind of like all the recreation, right? If the city can never give recreation any funds, can never give conservation any funds, like how much of a priority is it actually for the city? And I'm also, so I realize there's some projects like you need to like hop right on, you need to get your legal stuff, or get some sort of draft thing in there to hold on to a thing. But it also this would be basically us abdicating the project review to the Concom. right? So we're saying,
That's
we're giving you this money for your fund because we think you do a great job and you're good at vetting projects. And I think that's probably true. But, you know, typically, a lot of the CPA things we're looking at each project individually. So it'd be in favor of, somewhat smaller amount.
I
Donna?
think this would also be a kind of a strange one with the conditions. I mean, we have gone back and forth about, do we keep the money and then they ask us for it and we promise to turn it around really quickly? Or do we give them the money? And if we give them the money, which personally I'm in favor of, then how do we make conditions about how they account for it in terms of, when something like that comes up, reporting back? Because we also need to be able to say, yeah, we gave them this money and this is what it did. There's a before and after kind of a thing.
It
Don't
sounded
we
like for this
already
one,
Have that going on? with
yeah,
the
but
project?
it sounded like with funding the fund, and Travis can correct me, but this wouldn't be as much of a, there is legislation that says this one doesn't have to be a reimbursement thing. This one, we're creating the fund.
Right.
The reimbursement is like, here's the deposit slip. We put it in the conservation fund.
Do-
But then it's also, what did you do with
Do,
it?
do we want to put a reporting requirement into our contract so that it would be something where if we give them the money, we would ask them to report back?
We have a
We already
quarterly,
do
we have a
that.
quarterly report anyway, though, that they send to Anna. All applicants do.
And we have someone sitting on this committee who would be happy to tell us when things were working and the money was actually being spent. And it's you now, it could be somebody else from the Conservation Commission 5 years from now, but there's always going to be someone to ask.
Okay, so the quarterly report would be adequate for people, and, that would be something that came in and said, we haven't spent it yet. Third quarter, we spent it on a survey for this XYZ land. That would be adequate for folks?
I just want to say I really support this project, but I'm wondering if can we say if they haven't spent the full amount in 24 months, they return the money or something? And I don't know if that's allowed with the legislation, but I don't know if we want it sitting in their account for 5 years. I mean, I just wondering about that.
If
think
you
that's
give
the-
people
That's
money,
the
they
idea
tend
behind
to find a
smaller
way to
amounts.
spend it.
I think that's the idea behind the conservation fund. Like, it may be that, we give some amount of money, there's 5,000 in there, maybe they'd have to do, some small things, over the next 5 years, but then in 6 years, there becomes this opportunity for the town to buy or to get an APR on something. And that's when it would be activated, right?
The idea
it's
is that it's
not
on
like-
tap. They're
Yeah.
making no guarantees about what happens. They can't.
Right.
Other comments on this?
If I could just add, I think my understanding is that the money would be transferred to the conservation fund. And the conservation fund does accrue interest as well. And at one of the last Conservation Commission meetings, we were going over, as I mentioned before, there was a donation to the Miller's Meadow project that went into the conservation fund, and it was specifically for that project. So it got this like sub account in the conservation fund. And so that's what would happen with this money, is it would go in as like a sub account of CPA money. And we would know, the Conservation Commission would know that if that money is spent, it has to meet, the CPA requirements and, reporting. And I think Jessica, when this was presented to us, Jessica, the conservation agent, said that, she was supporting like a reporting mechanism to report, anytime money is spent out of that sub account of CPA money, then it would be reported. And I think that's legally required by the CPA law. So, I mean, it would be easy to make that condition, I guess. And just one other thing I'll point out was that when I was doing my own, adding up the money and everything, I was looking at how the Miller's Meadow and Conservation Fund were the top two in open space and recreation. And we had 27,600 in there. So if we fully funded Miller's Meadow, there'd be 7,600 left in the open space fund. So I was thinking a minimum of 7,600 to the conservation fund for what was left in the fund that has to be spent on open space or recreation or saved for next year.
But we have the extra money too.
But we also have that, yeah. So that was just in my mind as like a minimum.
Okay, so I'm going to try to do a straw poll on this one and see where we are. It seemed that the two numbers we were talking about most were either 20,000 or 50,000. So can we go with those two, or do people want to do another number?
That's fine with me, even though I just said a different number, yeah.
All right, so all those in favor of the 20,000, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and 50,000. Okay, so the 20,000 seems to be the winner here for the time being. Wait, okay. For a second, I thought you were going to put it on the other 20,000. I was, Okay, and the next one on our list?
The next one.
City clerk. So we're looking at the document preservation for the city clerk, and that is a request of 30,000 for the machine that would allow them to be able to make copies, digital copies of the documents. Thoughts?
I had a pretty strong thought on this one, was that I did want to fund this one because they came to us last year and wanted to do this. And we said, well, we like your project, but it would be great if you could scan the documents and have more public access. And so they came back this year and said, okay, this is how we're going to scan the documents and have more public access. So I feel like it would be a bit of a slap in the face to not fund it when they specifically responded to what we asked them to do and presented that to us this year.
Plus, it sets a precedent for anybody out there in the world who's paying attention to how this process works, that yes, you might not get it the first time, but if you come back and do the things we asked you to do to make it a viable project, the second time, you're more apt to get a positive response. I mean, it just sort of sets a precedent.
And I'd love to fund the 27,000, which is the cost of the actual machine, is my only comment.
That was going to be my comment.
I'm good with the 27,000.
Okay.
I've never once in my life bought a machine that all I needed was the machine. Not once.
My thing is that since this is a state unfunded mandate, and since organizations like foundations do not give cities money to do these kinds of things, that I think that it's important that we as an organization that is both involved with historic preservation and also is looking for filling gaps, that this is a gap that we can fill. So I'm going to ask, unless there's more discussion.
Where did it fall in the
It's
historic rating?
in the historic rating.
Second.
2.
Okay.
Okay. We've got two numbers of 27 and 30,000. So I'm going to go with both of them and see how we go. 27,000, all those in favor of 27,000. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Please, one
more time.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm a 6. 6 and 30,000. 1, 2. Okay, so 27,000 goes in there for now.
So the next one is Beacon Field.
Beacon Field. Okay, so this is 8730 for Beacon Field to do the the cornhole and that kind of project next to where the bocce courts are. So comments.
This is like another one. It's small enough funds. Again, it's a shame Recreation Department doesn't get any city funding for doing these things. Which I guess is why we have, you know, one of the reasons we have the CPA. You know, adding stuff over there. We believe we did helped out with one project on Beacon Field
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
far,
the-
and
the
we've done Hillside a few, and
Mhm.
we did the stuff down at the swim area. So it is nice to spread it across
Mhm.
the town.
We also did some stuff over near the high school.
Yep, high school things as well.
Go ahead.
Like I said, looking through all the data and everything, from what I saw, historically, rec departments are the rock stars of this legislation because they have an operating budget. So what they do is they show up with amazingly reasonable requests. Like they walk in and say, we got the trucks, we got the people, we got the tools, we got the experience, we even got lunch. We just need a couple of bags of concrete. So that's also clearly shining a light on a gap in funding. So I think it's just an incredibly reasonable request. So I'm totally down with it.
Okay, other.
I always get really sad that these don't rank higher. I support all recreation. I know there's limited funds, so my vote is to fully fund this at the 8730.
Okay, any other comments? All right, then I'm going to call for a straw vote on this, the 8730 for the recreation at Beacon Field. All those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And any objections or anything like that? Okay, 8730 in therefore, that's good. Okay, next one, RDI. Okay, so this is Rural Development, Inc. This is the 176 Main Street project. Do I have comments?
I just have one. The matching funds are extremely important for large projects like this, and I understand that there's a community debate about receiving funds from other sources, but this project still has a pretty large gap, and demonstrating that the CPC and the city supports the project, I think is important. I don't think we have enough money to fully fund it, so I'll let someone else make the recommendation for an amount, but I just think it's important. I understand we've funded them 50,000 2 years ago, and they've spent all of the money, and they were successfully awarded state funds, but not all of it. So that's my comment.
Other comments?
Someone made it clear to me today, actually, in a conversation, that all the people that work within RDI are local Franklin County based. They live here. They spend their money here. They're all, you know, they live here with us. And so there is sort of a community issue vis-a-vis the co-op where, you know, the Community Builders is I think, California-based organization that comes out here in their fancy cars, and I want them to do that, believe me. I'm not saying I don't, but it's a very rurally based and locally based organization of employees. That's something to
Becky,
consider.
just by a comment on that, the Community Builders is doing the housing part of that project, whereas the co-op is doing the co-op part of that project. So I'm sort of seeing this as more of a co-op project, which is very local to me rather than Community Builders.
Okay, that's a good point. I guess I see that whole project kind of together, you know,
Yeah,
the co-op and the housing. I
Yeah,
can't help
and
it.
it is not. And in fact, the co-op is really proud of so far, Wright Builders will be working on it. And the major people who are going to be working on it are from the Pioneer Valley.
Yeah,
But that's a
I
different
stand
issue.
corrected.
I'd like to
I'm
keep
in
us focused
support.
on RDI.
Yeah,
Back on the RDI thing.
yeah. So I know that I've just heard and read, like things pro and con about RDI and about that building and that site. I, I don't know what it'll be like when it's all done, but I'm curious about getting it back. I'm curious about it and I would like to support it. I don't know how much, 150, no, probably more like 50 again. I'm not sure. I'd like to hear from other people and what they think. But I'm even curious about trying to do something along the railroad. And it seems like there is a lot of creative inventing of space over there. I'm just curious and I support it.
Other comments?
Yeah, so I tried looking through so I support RDI in general. I think they've done great work in our area. We definitely need more housing. Right, originally this was a greater Holyoke Properties project, right? It sort of got handed off to RDI after they did, in terms of like who could get funding for where.
It was a joint project. The downstairs was supposed to stay with the present owner, and then the upper floors were supposed to be RDI, and that the numbers didn't work for the present owner, basically. So
Right.
it became.
So my concern was looking through the budget for this is that $1 million of that is to, like, it says, acquisition costs. So yes, I know there's like some amount of legal and you pay your, your fees and your stamp and whatnot. But the $1 million to acquire the building from a private entity, and the building is assessed at 500,000, which is conceivably even somewhat generous. So it seems like there's a lot of savings in there. We're basically helping to subsidize, letting Tim Grader bail out of a marginal building. So I'm not super excited about I like all the RDI portions of like what would happen there, although there is some concern about making more like dead space on Main Street as well.
I'll just mention that the state heavily vetted this project. And so I think they've looked at those numbers and they wouldn't have awarded the amount that they did if they were concerned about those numbers. Is just a comment. I agree. The cost of housing is ridiculous, and acquisition cost. When the RDI goes to closing for this property, there will be over 30 attorneys at the table, and it just blows my mind. I deal with it every day, but I just wanted to mention that.
Other comments before I make mine? I had a conversation with Alyssa not too long ago, and they've got the funding is now that they have now is about 80%. So one of the things that funding from us assists in is getting that other 20%, which is both a combination of tax credits and also is making sure that the banks who will lend them the additional money, whatever that is, that they say that the city is committed to it. So my belief is I would like to see $50,000. I think that's reasonable and within our range of costs as well. Are there other people who have a different amount of money that they'd like to put on the table for this?
I wrote down 50 before this meeting, so.
Okay. All right. So then if there are no other.
I mean, if it just needs to be like showing that we're in it all, I was thinking like 20 to 30 also shows.
Okay.
That we're
All
in-
right. We'll put
in
that on.
somewhat.
Okay. All right. So for the straw poll, all those who would like to put somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000 in, raise your hand. One. All those who would like to put 50 in. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we've got a majority on the 50. All right. All right. Okay, we're now at the Museum of our Industrial
215.
Heritage. Okay. And This is requesting the $24,600 for the paintings. And
Wait, did we skip, we were going in order on the left of the survey, right?
Yeah, I asked Spike Segundo and GHAI.
Oh,
'cause
okay,
You guys
sorry.
voted it
Yeah,
down
yeah,
to
yeah.
Strappel.
okay, so Museum of our Industrial Heritage, the paintings, thoughts?
I mean,
I would
just on the rank, like, nobody particularly liked it and or it didn't, rank very well in our rubric. Right, it's sort of
Yeah.
weird.
I would like to say one thing about that because it also applied to the city clerk issue. Some of our questions don't really allow us to give points in places where we might otherwise give points in a different kind of project. Our projects are kind of geared toward, and this is because the Community Preservation Act is geared toward really the acquisition of property or the or the building of things. So some of the point issues, I think, have to do more with the questions we ask than it has to do with the discussions that we've had with people. So I just wanted to throw that in
I
there.
feel there's a
'cause-
lot of the questions on there should have like, or it doesn't apply.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that would still mean that the points would not be there. And so it would score lower. That's just one thing I wanted to point out. Okay,
So-
but with that discussion, go ahead,
Well,
Wisty.
I think that the history of this city is fascinating. And I think that these paintings are really important. And I don't know where they would be displayed. I did look up the whole process about the cleaning and what it would do. I just am very in favor of this project. I'm not sure, depending on how much money we come up with, we have left. I would like to do the whole thing, but if we only did half and if they came back next year and asked us for some more, I just would like to encourage the whole community to embrace that history and let it be visible someplace.
Okay. Other comments?
No, I agree 100%. I mean, our history is disappearing daily, so I think this is a very important project, again, for the reason I mentioned earlier, and I'm all for fully funding it, and I'm, if you want to do half I think this would have 10 paintings or something.
There are 11, and when I was looking at them today, it looks like, I mean, most of them are about $1,000, $2,000. Like there was a range like 1,500 to 2,000, and then some were like 3,000. So I'm not the only one, but I've been keeping like the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And in my personal vote on this one, because I didn't know how this evening was going to go, I thought, well, 8 at $2,000, that's 16,000. And when I keep that number in there based on where we are right now, we're at 231,730. So
Okay, other comments?
FYI.
I am in favor of funding this to some extent, absolutely.
Okay, so we have 3 different categories here, which I'll throw out to folks. But are there other comments that people would like to make before we do so? Okay, with that understanding, I'll start from the bottom and work my way up. $12,300. The numbers are $12,300, 16,000, and 24,600. So I'll start with the 12,003. All those in favor of that possibility? Okay, 16,000. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the 24,600. 1, 2, 3. So right now the winning number is 16,000. Okay. All right. So that all being said, we still have what we're missing is Spike Segundo and Greenfield Housing Associates and Deerfield Street. And, okay, right, okay. So the 2 that we have previously were the lowest were the Greenfield Housing Associates, Inc. and the Spike Segundo. Does anyone, remember, we can go over this if we choose, so let's act like, there's possibility there, and then we can mess around with numbers and figure this out. But based on what you now know that we have in the hopper already, does anybody want to change their opinions about either the Spike Segundo or the Greenfield Housing Associates Inc. projects?
I'd like to ask if anyone's willing to explain to me why they don't like Spike Segundo. I'm just curious as to what the reason for not supporting it is.
I will give you mine and other people. Because Jordy owns a lot of property in town, I believe that this could be something that he could get a loan for. Unlike some other places where a loan would not be part of the picture. So that's, I don't blame him for coming to us. I just think that this is something that he could get a loan for if he chose.
That's the main reason.
It also felt like well, I mean, he didn't do great on the ranking, but he did better, I think, than he would have, because he read the score sheet. He's like, oh, well, if I ask for, just under half of my total projected cost, then I get more points. Again, it goes back to my, why does everything have to be brick? But also I love what's been done with Bank Row. I think it will remain there. It sort of sounded like he has to do something there, and the project was going to be $20,000 more expensive if they do it in the specific historical way. And so that's what he was coming for the money for. So I don't know if I'd want to give like more than the difference anyway. But I don't know. It didn't feel like a super win of a CPA fund. Maybe was my.
Maybe we could fully fund him and say that the condition is that he do something with the bank building too.
Nobody's going to take that.
Well, for me, when I was looking at this proposal, I saw two distinct parts. The old windows that are part of the apartments, and then also the business windows down below. And I felt like the old windows seemed more historic, value, because they're already like in the shape and they're there. Whereas the other windows, I mean, I guess it would be kind of like Wilson's all over, taking something that's not from the 1800s and making it look like it's from the 1800s again. So yeah, that's where I was. And I didn't clearly see where that line was. And I'm interested to hear what Garth was talking about a shortfall. I think that he did a good job of providing us with a lot of information, maybe a bit too much for me to be able to sort of like say, what is this all about? And I didn't necessarily get that from his visit to the committee. So, yeah.
Well, I think we need to put aside where people can get money from. I think that's neither here nor there, because we're dealing with companies with $24 million budgets. So the fact that, where people get their money from it shouldn't be a matter, or shouldn't be a characteristic. For I understand, since it's a historic building, he has to meet very strict preservation guidelines. So anything he puts back in there needs to be in accordance with what was built there originally. So he can't like take out the old windows and put in new windows. They have to be historic, the accurate
I think
windows.
he said that since the historic tax credits have expired,
Mhm.
he could do either, and he'd like funding to do the historic version.
But the
Yeah,
building
the quote
itself
was
is
for-
listed in the historic district of the town. So there are state and federal guidelines that oversee that building. So you really can't go in and put bronze with aluminum windows in there.
No, but he
You
did
wouldn't be
get,
allowed to do that.
He
Mhm.
did get, he's gonna get Pella Windows, like the sheet was a quote from Pella Windows, and that was one of my questions to him, because I'm actually a big fan of like taking sash windows and still using storm windows, but redoing sash windows, and if you have them with storms, they're actually better than like the new vinyl windows or whatever. So that didn't feel, it felt like a new product, so
It
that
may
was
be a new
something for me.
product, but again, it has to be historically accurate. So it could be a Pella window, but it needs to mimic the style and look of what's there now.
Yeah.
But okay, that's fine. Just my
Okay,
two
let me just, trying to keep us to 7. I hope I can.
Okay.
Let me just ask, is there anyone who would like to put in an amount that we can put into our straw poll here, for either the Spike Segundo project or for the GHAI project that we have not had for discussion?
I would like to support Jordy to some extent. I mean, I think it's important that he continue doing the good work that he does do here and has done. So I would say, can we give him $25,000?
Okay. Anyone else have a comment in regard to that?
I mean, I was looking at trying to find one aspect of the project, like what do just the windows cost, or what does just this piece of labor cost? And then, fund that. And I mean, we haven't talked about, Deerfield Street. I'm assuming that that's kind of if you get like $10,000, that's not going to really do much for rehabbing 2 apartments on Deerfield Street, right? Oh,
We came
okay.
back to both of these because only
Right.
people voted to fund them
Right.
at all initially.
So we have
So if
40.
if we're changing that, people should like say, I'm changing my vote. Like otherwise there's only,
Right,
Two-
right. But that's what I'm
or-
asking.
or
That's what
3
I'm
people.
asking now.
Right.
What I'm
right,
asking.
so if there's
Okay.
people who previously,
Okay.
We have $44,270 left.
if we want to spend
Only
everything.
want to spend.
Yep.
I just wanted to ask the question as to why. I didn't think there was going to be any change in the vote. I wasn't
Mhm.
expecting a change in the vote. I just wanted to understand the why of the
Mhm.
no. So that was my only reason for the question. So I'm not anticipating putting a number out there or any changes.
But
I
we
was
do,
curious.
we do have one number out here right now. So let me just take the Spike Secundo out, and put it out there. Is there anyone who would like to support that project, in the neighborhood of $25,000? 1,
Let me-
2, 3,
I'll do that.
4.
Got it.
Okay, and that means that we have 5 votes against, so it doesn't go up.
We have 4 votes against, I
Hmm?
recuse.
Oh, you recuse, so it's 4 and 4. So put in the 25,000 and we'll see what it looks like when we're all done here. Okay. On the GHAI
I
project,
think we can offer them a significant enough sum without dipping into our reserves.
well, but that's the question on,
But I
that's the
mean,
question
a-
on the
that-
table.
That's what
That's
I'm
the
putting
question
out
on the
there is
table.
that we would have to dip into our reserves, I think, in order to offer them enough for it to be a meaningful offer.
Now, none of these numbers are set in stone. So the other
Right.
possibility to say, well, we're gonna take,
Right.
we've got 60,000 for the co-op, we're gonna give them 50. And we're gonna do that. So we can do that once we get to this point.
Can we go back to the slide?
it's on there, it's a
Oh,
hundred,
it's- yeah,
the
but I
hundred,
can't read it.
100,000.
Thank you.
So, I mean, we could potentially fund this one at 50% if we took 5,000, and change out of the reserves. I agree with Terry, like, is there enough? And Jack can't answer, so I don't know, but like, is it significant enough that the project would absolutely be able to go forward? Because the main thing on this was a sprinkler system, so sprinkler system costs what it costs,
You can't do it halfway.
Okay, so we're talking, but we've got essentially 32,500 on the table.
So we have I'm sorry.
I'm just asking, you said 50%, so I'm asking,
Yeah, so I was saying 50,000. We have
50,000.
44,270 left, and if we took a little bit out of
Okay.
reserves, that would round it up to
Okay,
50,000.
okay, good enough. I didn't understand. Okay. So what do others think?
So I-
do we
Talking about the
have a vote?
Deerfield project?
Hmm?
My only concern about that is the numbers seem extremely, extremely high for that. I mean, $300,000 to build a studio apartment in an existing building is bizarre to me. I mean, I was just curious. I mean, you can buy a house for $189,000 that has 7 bedrooms here in Greenfield. So why would you spend $600,000 to build 2 bedrooms? So I just can't see supporting the project at all because of, it just seems like an extreme waste of money. I hate to use that phrase. I mean, we're all talking about housing and how important it is, but maybe this organization can go buy this house over here on Conway Street for $189,000 and put some money in it.
That was one of the major, blocks in the negative comments from the survey, was that people felt it was too expensive. And the expense is, right, it's getting the sprinkler system. Sort of my response to that is like, this is not a good project because, apparently state and codes are incentivizing not putting 6 units because that's like probably ends up being the worst, right? If you're doing a 10 unit, you're like, your proportional price of your sprinkler system goes down. That's a big lot. If I was making 2 400 square foot or 500 square foot apartment units, ADUs are allowed by right. I'd stick them in the back, put the parking in front. I realize I'm not a housing developer, but just looking in terms of like, where would the money be spent, or buying another house, right? That doesn't add to the housing available in town, but if it seemed like 100,000 could go a lot further in a different project.
Okay. Other comments?
I read somewhere also, and I thought this was a reasonable thing to bring up, was that third floor living is really only accessible to a certain group of people and leaves out anyone with a disability who can't climb stairs, whether it's age or physically related. So that limits, to some extent, the part of the population that we gave bonus points for so I just wanted to say that out loud.
Well, it's still got my 3 because of where it is. The underserved populations.
Did we
Deer-
want to put them all down on Deerfield Street?
Well, no, but like you look at Deerfield Street, you look at parts of Elm
I see
Street,
what you
you
mean. Yeah. Still.
I think my personal thought on this one was we should either do at least the 64,350 for the sprinkler system or nothing. And the way I was calculating it out on my own, I didn't think there was going to be enough for it. So I was thinking nothing. But if we were going to dip into reserves, or I was not in favor of the bankroll one we just did, so you could erase that one and do the 64,350 for the sprinkler system for this one. I mean, I think, creating new units, it's 2 new units, studios, and obviously there's a smaller population who needs those, but I'm pretty sure there probably are plenty of people who would need housing of that type and would appreciate it. So, I think it would probably make that building safer overall if there was a sprinkler system. So,
All right, so we've
Yeah.
got 2 things on the floor. I'm going to put them on the floor for discussion, for a vote, straw vote, and then we can mess around with these numbers. That's the other piece before we decide on voting. And so, so we have $50,000. So I'm going to ask all those who support $50,000 for putting that onto the GHAI
So the other
project.
options?
And the other one is the 64,350. Do we want to start with the 64,350?
I
don't
just
care.
didn't know what the
Okay.
other options were.
Okay, so, or nothing. Okay, so I'll start, let me start, let me start with the bottom and work my way up. Okay, all of those in favor of, no funding for this? 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that a yes or no? No? Okay, 4. All those in favor of 50,000? 1, 2, and I've got to recuse myself. 2 on the 50,000. So that's 6. And all those in favor of the 64,350, 1. Okay, so does that mean the majority was none? Okay. Okay,
The answer is that.
and that's where we are.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, looking at this, we have a 256, 730 that we have voted in at this point.
Straw.
So the straw, yeah, the straw as a straw poll, and then we would have to,
Oh, you have the option
we'll
of
go,
just
we'll
stamping
go
it and walking away.
site by site, project by project, and have an official vote. But look at the numbers, decide if you want to move anything around, and if you do, let's talk about that.
Guys, I'll zoom in a second, but just be mindful on the right of the percentages of each category that you're looking at. And these numbers were the targets from the budget
Okay.
for fiscal year
Um,
26.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we don't have to worry about being,
Now we'll just see it this way.
as long as we get our 10% here, we're good.
Except for the housing where it's where we're supposed to have 30%.
Okay, so we're still.
We're still
good.
okay, yeah.
Okay. I forgot about that. So what I did on my spreadsheet was I took this and I minus that, and I'm coming up with like 19,000 left over right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did here. So maybe I'm missing something. Because I'm thinking we got 19,000 to play with. So,
Certain
If-
Excel didn't miss
It's not
anything.
to play with. We can
Yeah,
either
we can
spend it or we can
not,
save it
or
for,
save it, right.
for something
Right.
else or a different year.
Donna, you have a different fiscal year 26 budget number in your spreadsheet.
Thank
You have
Certain
276.
Excel did not make
And
a
that's
mistake.
262.
minus the admin.
I had the wrong, okay, I had a wrong number. Just want to
Okay.
make sure.
So,
Okay.
Thank you,
given that
Travis.
it's 7
No
minutes of
problem.
7.
Yes.
Sorry, glancing at your
Um,
screen over here.
I'd be in favor of
So 262.
at least going through the ones that we mostly voted to
Fully funded.
fully fund
Okay,
and or like, more or less unanimously said like, this would be a good.
okay.
I'd also be willing to rubber stamp the whole thing.
I would too.
Yeah, I'd be happy to just
The
stamp
slate
that
as
whole thing and
presented.
it's
Make a
done.
motion.
Yeah.
I make a motion to vote on it as is.
I second that.
You'll need to separate out.
Yeah, we
the
need-
ones
we
that
need to
people
separate.
Just the ones that people are recusing themselves for, we'll need to separate out.
Right, so the
Als-
Spike Segundo and the GHA projects have to be separated out. All the others could be voted on as a group.
Also, we specifically have to say which fund the money is coming from for each project. So we have to say whether it's coming from the open
Right.
space fund or the flexible
correct.
fund
As part of.
for
That's
each
correct.
project. As part of, that's how we've done it as part of
Yes,
our
that's what we've
motion
done in the past. Yes,
Um,
yes.
All right.
They
so
come out of the
let's-
fund
we
that
can
they
move through
applied
this
to?
Quickly, right?
So
Say it again?
The,
But
the,
doesn't it
the
come
issue here
from what
is
they
that
applied to?
because we have, for instance, $27,600 in the historic fund that we have allocated.
Mhm.
So if we have, where's one of the historic? If we say that Franklin Community Co-op is getting 60,000 and we say they're going to get the 27.6 and the rest of it is going to come out of the general fund. That has to be part of the motion,
Okay.
okay?
Okay, so I'll make a motion. That we fund Franklin Community Co-op for $60,000 with 27,600 of that coming out of historic and the rest coming out of general, flexible.
I'll second that.
Okay,
I'll second that.
okay, all those in favor?
Should we discuss the conditions?
Yes, are there conditions on that, on the funding other than the normal preservation requirements that we have already in place?
I just want to mention that last year we said that we might add a condition into every project that they would need to indicate that they received funding from CPA, either through like a plaque or a sign or something like that. And that would be part of our condition that would go to each project.
That's fair.
So I don't know if we could just make that part of our general conditions that we put on every project.
Yeah.
Can we vote? Can we make a motion to do that?
We
Put that
can.
on every
We
project?
can, I'll take that as a friendly motion if someone would.
I'll second
it-
that.
Yeah, and.
No, wait, can I second my
Okay,
own?
it's second. Okay, all those in
Made it.
favor of having that, the question of having a plaque or some kind of other recognition for CPA funding on every project that we fund. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody object?
Well, we had talked about this sort of thing previously, and we
Right.
said like you have to put up a banner or something. And in various projects have come back and been like, it's not really practical
We'll work with them.
to like, and like, like how crazy can it be? Like, well, it has to at least be a brass plaque, at
I
least
think
2
it's
by
ac-
2
It's
or.
acknowledgements
It's
in
acknowledge-
some form or
Yeah.
fashion. We can let people be creative.
We
with
we
that.
could make it so that we have to approve what, like, they have to present it to us and we have to approve it.
Okay, is that a friendly
That
amendment?
would be an amendment on the motion.
Okay,
yes.
do I have a second on the amendment?
I'll second this time.
Okay, all right. All those in favor of there being on all of the contracts that we have for whatever we fund, there being an acknowledgement of CPA funding and that, that the awardee will work with, the office to be able to provide an appropriate, acknowledgement.
Amen.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? One opposition, so it's 8 and 7, 8 and 1. Okay,
So now we're back to my motion.
now we're back to your motion around the co-op. Yes.
Folks, I'm trying to follow what you're doing, and I also have to take minutes on the votes. So even though we can do all in favor, please raise your hand very high and leave it up there for a minute to make sure that the recording catches it. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so we are now looking at a motion to fund the Franklin Community Co-op for the Wilson's Building facade restoration at $60,000 with $27,600 of that coming from the historic set aside and the rest of it coming from our more general funding.
And we were going to discuss historic preservation restrictions and how long we would like
That's
that
correct. Thank you.
to happen.
Thank you. So on this, we have done anywhere from 10 years historic preservation restrictions up to 30 years. Has anyone got an opinion on that in terms of this motion?
Sorry, can I,
Yep.
I don't know, maybe one of you do, if this project already has a historic preservation, it may well,
I think I think they have historic preservation credits, so they must have
in which case the
designation.
the recommendation, because that would be redundant, is to basically put a time limit. If the co-op sells the building in X years, they must return the funds they received.
Okay. So do we have a number of years that we would like to say that they would have to return the funds if they were to sell the building? We all know this is highly unlikely, but out there in the world.
100 years.
5 years?
5 years seems a little low.
10 years?
They won't even.
10 years? 10-year restriction?
Sure.
Okay, so that's part of,
Sorry, I was just looking to see
That's
if there was
okay.
anything
Yep. Within 10
It feels
years.
separate from historic. Like, I'm not gonna vote for this anyway, but in terms of like saying, like, if you sell it within 10 years, like, if they've already done the historic thing that you want them to do, like, it's not like they're gonna take off the bricks when they sell it and be like, we're leaving.
Right, but this is a requirement of the CPA funds. This is a
Well,
state
it
requirement.
has a historic, I would just say that the historic, since they already have some sort of state level historic thing, unless we want a more specific or a tighter
Yeah,
timeline.
yeah, the
So-
issue would be they sell it to Joe's
Walmart.
Walmart. They sell it to Walmart and,
Make a
and,
bold
um,
one.
Walmart
and they
puts their
decide, and
sign.
they decide that they want to, at 5 years, and they decide that they want to cover the brick up or whatever that is done. That would not be acceptable within the agreement. And that would.
Right,
so-
well, because there's a historic restriction on
That's
the
right.
building
Right,
itself.
right.
So I guess I don't understand why we need to
Do
have
it
an extra thing. I mean, I'm not gonna fight it. You can put whatever restrictions you want. I don't understand the restriction.
Victor?
I'm sorry, but I have another board meeting, which I'm already late for.
Okay.
I have to leave. I've enjoyed this evening and I support everything that's up there. Not that I'm going to be able to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Victor.
Victor. Thanks for attending.
So my understanding is we weren't talking about the preservation so much as just if they sell it. Like,
Basically,
the-
yeah.
yeah, so I don't think that that's part of the question. The question is, if they sell the place within the next 10 years, do we ask for our money back? Is that what we're asking here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So let me
Can we
restate
say
this.
we're not? Can we say we aren't going to ask for the money back? I mean,
Yeah, I.
just leave it alone, I guess.
This
is what-
conversation's gotten really cloudy because it started out. We started out talking about the preservation restriction and the time length on that, and then it turned into, well, what if they sell it? And then how long do they have to
Okay.
keep it before
This is the
they keep our
language.
money?
This is the language.
Yeah,
From what?
So this is the language that was used for historic projects by you guys last
Right,
year.
okay.
And I don't know if there is an existing plan for a preservation restriction, which is why I highlighted yellow or. So you guys could say one of these is what we want, Anna, or decide one or the other.
that looks just fine to me. Thank you.
Yeah, that seems to cover it.
So can we keep the or and do it exactly what it says there?
No, oh, sorry, no. Well, the or is only relevant if they already have a preservation. So there has to be some preservation on it. If it so happens they already have something, then the second clause kicks in.
I vote we go with the first clause and just leave it at that. They agree to execute a historic preservation restriction.
Okay, is that agreed upon by the group? Can I just have a show of hands? Okay, all right.
Raise your hand, keep it up.
Okay,
Remember?
all right.
Sorry.
We got it. We got it. Okay, all right.
Did you guys vote on the funding?
Did,
Not yet.
no, we have
Yeah,
not
that
voted
was
on the
just
funding
on
yet.
that
Okay,
wording.
so let us go back to the funding. The measure that's on the table is we vote $60,000, $27,600 comes from the historic preservation section of our budget. The rest of it will come from our more general funds. All those in favor? Okay. Anybody voting no? One no. So we're at 8, so it's 7 and 1. Okay, next. I don't care. I honestly don't care.
Might it make sense to
Let's
do
do-
it category by category?
Yeah, let's do it, all the historic ones together. Okay.
I
So,
would actually want to make a motion to fund the security deposit and rental assistance fund at $30,000, since that was one we agreed upon.
okay,
And that would be Sorry, I'm looking, just $30,000 from the housing fund.
Okay, so,
Second,
okay, so, then second, and so of the 82,800 in the housing fund, $30,000 would be going to the GHA Security Deposit and Rental Assistance Fund. Becky?
no, I'm.
Oh,
saying
you're voting,
yes.
all those in favor?
Yes.
Okay. And that's 2, 8, 6. Okay.
Oh, sorry. I'm
Were you
Any-
done?
any
You done
opposed?
counting?
Any
okay.
opposed?
Oh,
The
extension.
abstention, yeah, the recusal from me too.
I was a
Okay,
yes, by the way.
okay,
6 yes, 2 abstentions.
Okay.
0 no.
all right.
In light of the fact that we have a little bit of extra money, I would like to propose that we fund the Museum of our Industrial Heritage. Can we go the whole, maybe, $20,000 instead of 16?
Okay, all right.
That due to our bottom line?
Is that a motion?
Do you want to see what that looks like?
Yeah, I do. Oh, we still have money left?
Perfect.
Okay. All right, yeah, I'll make a motion to
And-
bump that up to 20.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor of moving that, the Museum of our Industrial Heritage up to 20,000?
Are we, is this the vote on
It's a vote
funding
vote?
it?
This is a vote.
I was just looking to see if we needed any special conditions.
Special
on it.
conditions, are there?
Sorry.
Yep. they-
This would be
We
coming
have the
from
language.
general fund.
Okay,
Yeah, all from the general fund.
On
Yep.
historic now, yeah.
okay. Agrees to,
I don't think there was anything in here. about it.
okay, so this is the language that we would have
Oh,
right
there it is.
now.
Okay.
That
Agrees
works.
the documents
Okay.
prepared on, okay.
That kind of gives us an open book.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Good.
using that language, we would be providing $20,000 to the Museum of our Industrial Heritage, and that would all come out of our general fund. All those in favor?
Just.
Any opposed?
Susan, are you voting?
I am voting. No. So it's, we've got 8, so it's 7 yes, 1 no. Okay. So that should turn white, yes. Okay, there we go. All right. You want to go to the preservation of historic documents, city documents next? Since we're in that historic preservation area. Okay, so, all right, so this is the language. I don't know that we can specify place and time yet.
And I don't know if that we can apply that first one to all the documents because some of them are not allowed to be publicly accessible. So.
Available to the public that are allowed.
I mean, that's what available to the public means. And
In accordance with
Regulation.
regulations.
Right. Yeah, it's,
And
again, it seems odd that we're putting in something because we're not like the city clerk exists to provide
Right.
documents to the public. So us saying like, yeah, and do your job, just because we want to put something in our contract doesn't seem useful.
yeah, well, the difference is we're saying, do your job and here's some
Yeah,
money to
here's the
do it.
money,
Whereas
yeah.
other people are saying, do your job and not giving them the money.
Okay, so is this language acceptable to folks?
Mhm.
Okay, so with that understanding of this language would go into the contract, we are recommending that $27,000 go to the Greenfield City Clerk for the preservation of historic documents, and that money will be coming out of our general fund. With that, I need a motion.
Make the motion.
Motion, is there a second?
Seconded.
Second, all those in favor? Okay, unanimous, so 8. Okay. All right, we're getting there. Spike Segundo, $25,000 for the Bankroll Restoration and Historic Markers. And the language would be, oops, yep, yep, okay. So it's execute historic preservation at those, at those addresses. Project complying with the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation, and they are only supposed to be used for those specific addresses and to follow the conditions as deemed necessary within the Community Preservation Act.
I would make that motion with
Okay.
all that
Okay.
legalese.
All right, so we are voting on $25,000 that would go to Spike Secundo LLC for the restoration of those particular buildings, and that the funding would be coming out of the general fund. All those in favor? 1, 2. All those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. Any abstentions?
I'm
One
recused.
abstention and 2 abstentions. So it doesn't pass. We don't have enough positive votes. Okay. Okay. Rural Development, Inc. This is for 176 Main. And this would be $50,000. And do we have restrictions on that? Okay. These are the restrictions used for up to 100%, where these are going to be 60% or below. Record affordable housing restriction, which is going to be part of their general funding.
I'll make the motion with the restrictions presented.
Do I have a second? Second?
Can we just be clear? I think we still have money in the housing fund, that
Yes.
this would
We
be.
could appropriate.
I think all 50,000, don't we still have it?
Yeah, we have, up 50,000. Okay. So the motion is for $50,000 to RDI for 176 Main, with the restrictions required, and all those funds would be coming out of our housing fund. Do I have a motion?
I have a question.
Yes.
Is there still going to be housing in the fund left over? Because this is.
Yes,
our
there's
last-
$2,800 right now
Okay, so that would just roll over until next year.
that actually, yes, it would roll over into the housing fund for next year.
Okay.
Exactly.
And we had to do a minimum of 30%, right? And we've done that. So
So we're,
But we had to put 30% into the fund,
yeah,
and we don't have to spend.
we don't have to
30%
spend it
this
all,
year.
but we,
It just has to be
that's
Can't
put
spend it
into
on
the
something else.
Right.
Well, and we're the ones who decided.
right, we can't
30%.
spend it on.
It had to be 10.
Correct. Okay, so do I have a motion?
I made the motion.
Motion, second,
Seconded.
seconded. Okay, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those opposed? 1, so it's 7 and 1.
Can I ask a procedural question?
Yes.
If
yes,
we
sir.
get to the end of this and we decide we wanted to add some to one that we already voted on, can we vote again to
Yes, we can.
increase that?
Yes,
Okay.
we can. Okay, let's see, where are we? We're at, Conservation Commission, $20,000 for the Conservation, Commission. This is for the fund that will be used for various kinds of technical and other issues that the fund need to do, and the, and this is Anna's suggestion on the sample language.
Yeah, I just feel that I would like to do some research, see exactly how other communities phrase this, but at a minimum, they're required to use the CPA funds for CPA eligible uses. And if they acquire any real property with the fund, it must have a conservation restriction.
So we had
Okay.
no restrictions on this until you put a
We've
suggestion. in
never
there.
done this before, so I would say that let us use this as sample language, and Anna, between now and the next meeting and the contract won't be signed for a little while. If there needs to be a change, we can vote on that. Does that make sense? Okay, so
So
we,
this one's pending.
well,
No, we
No,
prove
I
it
think-
contingent the language at a future
yeah.
meeting.
If we find that there's more language that's needed, we'll change the language.
We're granting the money.
Without the language, that doesn't sound right
No,
to me.
we're granting the money with this language.
With these two conditions and before they sign a contract, I may approach you guys and say, there's additional conditions we need to put on it. It's not ideal, but that's how you've done it before.
Because there's still some time, it's got to go through the city council and they've got to
correct.
vote on it. So we do have some
Months.
time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why if we can get this done now, then Anna can start the process of getting it through the council.
Can I ask
Yeah.
a council procedural question? If they, can they play with numbers once they see
They
it? or
can't
have
play
to
with the
do
numbers, but they can
everything?
do a yes or no.
And then.
Oh,
if
no, actually,
say-
they can reduce the numbers,
reduce
but
the
they can't
numbers?
increase the
They
numbers.
can't increase it.
Yeah, they
Okay.
can say no, they can reduce it, or they can approve it
Right.
as
In,
is.
in general, they've approved what we've put forward to them.
Right, just seems to me that what we're voting on here is they get the money and the only thing we're ever going to vote on again is the words.
That's correct.
Well, that's
That's
right.
correct. That's correct.
We're deciding that we want to give them the money. They don't get the money. It's going to be months before they get the money and they still have to sign a contract. So we do have some time to add conditions to that contract before they sign it.
Correct. Okay, so assuming we will start with this language. And we are looking at $20,000 to the Conservation Commission for the purpose of using that for their funds so that they can do technical things for the purchase of property. I will, and this would come out of the, what do we have?
Open space, we have
The
a full
open
amount,
space
right?
is 27.6. And-
There's
and-
nothing else.
There's nothing allocated at this point. So of the 27.6, we would allocate $27,000, $20,000 to it. Yeah, it's late.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay, and any opposed? One opposition, so it's 8 and 7, 8 and 1, 7 and 1, 7 and 1.
There's a lot of numbers.
7 and
going
1,
on.
yeah, right. All right.
Better when we're sitting around a table
I
together.
know, that's the one
Well,
thing
thi-
about being in this
This
space.
is for the video and
Yeah,
asked
right,
us to raise her
right,
hand because
right,
And
when
also-
she
right.
reviews the video to be able to see.
Also,
Right,
to be
right,
fair, one of those numbers
right.
just recently changed.
Okay,
Right.
Miller's Meadow.
Do we have to have special language?
Well, we need to do 7,600 from the open space and the rest from the general fund.
Correct,
Second
And
that.
the one item that's on the screen.
yes, which is conditions deemed necessary within the Community Preservation Act. So they can't build a condominium.
I think Becky seconded it, right?
I did. I seconded it.
Okay,
Shall we vote?
yes, all those in favor?
Sorry, Susan.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, that's 8, nothing.
Jack, can you say the numbers again?
Yep, it's 7,600 from the open space and the rest from the general fund.
Okay, and Beacon Field, 8730,
All from the general
all from the
fund.
general fund.
I move to
And there are,
approve.
yep, and this is the language.
Yep, approve the $8,730 for Beacon Field enhancements with the language that they will follow the conditions as deemed necessary.
Seconded.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay, unanimous. 8. Right. Okay, is there anything else that people wish to approve or
Can-
change?
Can we clarify how much is there some left in the housing fund?
There's $2,800 left in the housing fund. And,
Wait, 2,800.
2,800. Yep.
Eight,
And-
80 of the 82,
Yeah.
80
And,
allocated.
uh,
so it
and
would
in
roll
the
over.
total, in the total budget, there's 470.
Considering the shortfall this year, I've got no problems with money staying in there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any changes that anyone wishes to make?
I think it looks good and, right, so that, subject to what the final number is, but at least 26,470 will end up rolling into our reserves. Some of it may be, allocated to different categories, but we will have some pretty good reserves, so we can
Mhm.
start looking at,
Yep.
other
I
projects next, in the coming years.
I actually want to motion to increase the Museum of our Industrial Heritage to cover the full amount to 24,600. Because we have 26,470 left, and I don't think it makes sense to have them come back to us again next year for $4,600 to finish that project.
Second.
So that would come from the
Second-
general
second.
fund.
Any other discussion on that? Okay, there is a motion to increase the Museum of our Industrial Heritage project to 24,600 from 20,000. All those in favor? Okay. Opposed? Okay.
I have a comment then on the conditions we had on them. That first condition is that I think that it will be displayed or available in the building, in the industrial. And that's a little tiny space, and these are big paintings.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That should be.
Yeah, no, their plan is to have them displayed at different places
Yeah.
throughout the community. So there
Yeah.
could be one hanging over there on that wall. There could be one at the library.
Right, so perhaps
be
we
one in the
should
bank.
change that language
Yeah.
to say to the public and
Just-
and
yeah.
leave it at that.
Yeah, leave it
Right,
at that.
Okay, all those in favor of amending that language to say the funds will be available, that the paintings will be available to the public. Any opposed? Okay,
And we voted to up that amount to
24,600. And whatever that looks like in terms of the public.
And I would make a motion to just go ahead and fully fund the city clerk to 30,000 from 27.
Okay.
I'll second that.
The second, okay. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, so any other alterations, changes that we want to make? Then
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I think that I would like a second to that.
Second.
Thank you all for coming. Our next meeting is April.
We still have to vote to adjourn.
Oh, we have to vote to adjourn. All those in favor?
All right.
Okay. We have a next meeting is April 23rd at 5 p.m. and this very same time and place.